Did you know that India has the highest proportion of women who graduate in science, technology, engineering and mathematics in the world? Unfortunately, this situation changes once they start working and having family. Today's guest is Purnima, a superwoman from India who studied biotechnology and came to Germany some years ago to pursue her career. Today she will explain us about her work and we will discuss a lot about Indian culture.
Welcome to She Has a Voice podcast. Stories about women of strength and their journey in tech.
Thanks a lot, Purnima, for joining the podcast. I'm sure we will learn a lot from you and from your story, so thanks a lot. I was doing some research. What I found is that actually India, there's a lot of women, if you compare to other countries, that are studying science, engineering, about technology, and so on, which is very good. Then when they were taking a look to the number of women that are working as scientists, engineer, and so on, it's more reduced. What is your opinion about this?
I think the first is the self-confidence. You know, when I see myself in India, how I was, the confidence is less. Maybe the women are not confident enough sometimes to apply for the job. Maybe afterwards is of course the gender inequality comes and everything. But before that, if the woman doesn't apply for the job and thinking, I might not get it, I'm not good for that job, need to be increased, we need to give more empowerment to that. We have to create an awareness for that, the women are, I don't think the work or, studying science or anything, or even after being a scientist, has anything to do with the gender. It can be men or women. It has nothing to do. I don't know how come it's become a fight of the gender, but it wasn't. It is not. It's just about understanding the world and, and make it a better one. I think the women can do the great work as the men do. Yeah. I got a job here. I have been working here for last 5 years. I got married 2 years ago. So my husband moved. So he came from India to Germany for my career because he's like, why do you have to stop? Because he can also say we got married and, you can continue working in India. But he's like, no, I will support your career growth. And this more, this has to happen. You have to set more examples like this where, not the woman has to choose. The men can also do, they can also be stay home husband or even their career, they can also put their career, their wife career first than theirs. So why the woman has to sacrifice? So that's where the gender bias, I feel comes more and more. So when you are saying that applying for the job, this is for me such a good example. The woman will first think, is it in the same city? Can I move? And if I move, will my husband move with me and can look for another job? Because if I take this job in this different city, will give my career a really, boost. But then is it the husband is ready to do that jump with her? Very rare, right? Because mostly it's the men are on the driver's seat, not the women.
It's very, very interesting what you're saying, Purnima. And I guess that your example, it's not what happens normally, right? It's not very usual. That couple living in different countries, men decides to leave their hometown and move to another country for supporting the career of wife. So where do you think that this difference coming from?
I think it's my husband thinking because, my husband is always like, so he's very proudly say, I'm a house husband. So he's a businessman in India, but once he moved here, he's like, I'm a house husband and I'm a very proud of it. He's like, when the women say it, I'm a housewife and they can say it proudly, the men can say the same way. If the woman is growing more in the career, why should we pull her down and be like, the man is like, no, if I live in the city, I work here, you have to move here with me. The men can do the same sacrifice. So my husband is really, he sometimes, tell me like, when he see the women leaving the career or being like, I have some friends, they got married, they left the career, not judging or anything, but they'll be like, I don't know what went wrong. Have they lost the motivation or they really wanted to focus or on the family, or was the pressure from the husband? So, or the husband was like, if I'm going to work, you're the one who's going to take care of the kid. But I think I always say we need more and more people thinking in the way like how my husband think. Yeah. Like the career is not gender biased, anyone can be scientist. So if the woman is doing good, let's just support her instead of pull her back and be like, put it in the cage. And I have to say, it's not just my husband, my brother, my brother-in-law, my in-laws, and my family, it's so many men and the women are behind me who are like supporting me, like, go. If you have a career goal, if you have a dream, focus on it. My in-laws are so proud, in the neighborhood, they'll always be like, our daughter-in-law is a scientist.
Was it always clear for you that you wanted to study biotechnology?
When I was a kid, I always wanted to be a doctor or a scientist. Yeah, so it was always there. So, but I'm really a person who has plan A and B. So, but these were the two which always fascinated me. So I do wanted to be, when I grew up, I was like, I want to be a doctor or I want to be a scientist.
Oh, wow. So actually you were planning to be a doctor.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So I was a doctor or the scientist. So because I was always interested in the science. When we were a kid, there used to be this cartoon, Dexter Laboratory. I don't know.
Yes.
That used to be my favorite. So I was somehow interested in the science but I wasn't sure it's going to be. So I actually took all the exams, for the medical to be a doctor, and I got selected and everything. But then I was like, no, I think I want to pursue different line, so maybe I'm actually more interested into the biotechnology than just the biology, because I was studying to become a doctor, but and then I choose to join a different line, and so all went well actually.
What does it have, the biotechnology, that was more interesting for you?
Process. Like, how you develop the pharma, in the pharmaceutical industry, all the process of making the medicine itself. That was really fascinating for me. That was a point when I was like, I think I'm more interested into learning how to, develop, how to do the research. Why does the medicine is of this color? Why do we use this medicine to cure fever? Why do we use this medicine to cure heart problems? So that just somehow really fascinated me. And that's when I choose to continue in the biotech direction.
I heard a podcast some weeks ago about antibiotics, that they were saying that 2050 or so, that they expect that people die more from the bacteria rather than from cancer. And they were explaining, so for dummies, but how the antibiotics work, why is it dangerous that, you don't finish the treatment and so on. And I found this like super interesting, right?
Yeah, and I think COVID-19 has helped to create this awareness, that we should have, or people are more aware, have more understanding against the viruses, or, also about the medicine itself. The pharma industry is actually seeing a boom because of the COVID-19. Also, of course, because of the production of more medicine, but also the people, there is a lot of understanding.
During these interviews, a lot of women told me that most of the times the reason why we are choosing going for being a doctor, a nurse, or is because behind it has this purpose of helping people. We are raised in this culture of women caring other people, right? And how this is somehow or affecting your decision when you need to choose for studies.
That was very funny actually. So when I was a kid, my mom never let me enter the kitchen. So my mom used to say, you should study, you should focus on your study, because that first was in India. She never knew that I'm going to go to the Germany or, I'm going to study abroad. Focus on your studies. You want to learn cooking, you can get a cook, but you won't get another chance to focus on your career. So you don't need to learn the cooking and all. So, I was so focused on the studies, or my parents were for me, like so career oriented. They were like never letting me do any of the house chores. So I've actually never cooked, never washed the dishes, never washed the clothes, never. My mom used to say, no, just focus on your studies. So I think I have got from my parents' side this, the boost, focus on your studies. And I was such a bookworm, I would say, during my studies.
Purnima, do you think that it's common for the Indian culture having parents like yours?
It's changing. It is now. I mean, when it was in 90s or 20s, maybe it was different. But now I do see a lot of parents are more focused for their kids, even the women are not even getting married until they turn 30, because earlier it was 25, 26. It's not 100%, because I think I was the last one who got married, from my friend circle in India.
Wow.
Even they have kids and everything. And, but there are some Indian women I know in India, who are still not married. So it's there on a very low pace. It's there. We do have parents like my parents, but it's not, I would say, the 100% because of the population of India. So there's so much diversity. So it's not on the large scale, but I do see more and more around me.
You're currently an analytical scientist at Novartis, but what does it mean?
It means asking every day, why are we doing this way? Should we try the different way? It's so my daily work goes around like designing, creating, and doing the experiments sometime, and then analyzing the results. So what we do is we develop drug substances and the drug products for the respiratory diseases. Yeah, so it's mostly for the asthma and for the pulmonary diseases.
Then you're taking the data, you're analyzing, and then you're making suggestions on how to improve it or how to move forward?
We develop a new product. So it means we develop the new medicine. So it means it's not something in the market. So we do work on creating a new drug product for the respiratory diseases. So we are in the development phase. So mostly it's all research and development.
Is this connected with your studies, what you were doing at the university?
No, it was all planned until now, as I said, right? So it was like, I have to study the biotechnology for my bachelor's, and then I studied my master's in Germany for the bionics. And then I had my first job for more related to the medical devices, where I tried to understand more, the products which were helping the pharmaceutical industry, like creating a medical devices. But now here I learn more about the pharmaceutical active ingredients. So really the, like aspirin, or the ibuprofen, I'm really learning now more about the powders and how we can combine both. So really combining the medical device. So the product we create now here at Novartis is a medical product, but has a drug substance into it. So this whole combination was like all planned, that I wanted to learn this. I wanted to have this kind of job. So, start from being an engineer and then going step by step to being a scientist.
What is the main difference that you found between doing your studies here in Germany compared to India?
Really particular to the studies, I can say that after doing my master's in Germany, I am more into the practical side. So, I think more practically. In India, it was more theoretical knowledge, and it just made me, I feel more and more of critical thinker and asking why are we doing this way? Why aren't we trying this way? Germany has helped me more to grow, on the professional side a lot.
And was it difficult, the transition?
Not really. I mean, as I said, so I actually planned it. So I came 3-4 months earlier to learn the language. I was like, I cannot go to the country where I don't speak the language and create another language barrier. So the first thing I did was came to Germany, did the intensive course for 4 months, and then started my degree.
Talking about your studies, did you find more men than women in your studies, or was it like more women?
So during my bachelor's in India, it was, I would say, almost the same. For the biotechnology, I didn't find more men than the women. But when I came to Germany to study bionics, it was very interesting to see. I think we were 3 or 4 women, and there also you can choose the courses. So I choose, some of the engineering based subjects, and there was like 1 or 2. So I was just surprised to see in Germany there were less people studying engineering than compared to the India.
I need to ask you, what does it mean, bionics degree?
It's a biologically inspired engineering. So bionics is really about, when I came to Germany, I wanted to study something different, again, I wanted to get out of my comfort zone. This is my thing. So, what I do is anytime I get more comfortable where I am, I have to get out of there. We're too young to set in, on our comfort zone. We do have to try more and more different. So to live a life. And bionics is really, you get inspired from the nature and then you do the engineering. So you get inspired from the nature and then you develop something in the lab or in your studio.
And what type of things do you develop in the lab? Could you give us
I
an example?
remember we had this manta ray. It's a fish. If you have seen, it has big wings. So inspired from that, we developed a robot, which was moving in that direction. So, and also we have created the submarine, which was actually inspired from the dolphin. I mean, even the aeroplanes, right? Like right now, what were the scientists were inspired from? The birds, right? The knowledge is already out there. We just have to ask why it is like this. The best example, or a very typical one people gives for bionics, is the waterproof paints, like for the walls which you have. It's actually inspired from the lotus effect. It's called, the leaf of the lotus has this structure on it which make the droplet, stays there. It doesn't let to just flow in. It comes from that, and that's how they design, So the science is all about why, and the life is all about why not.
Before you joined Novartis, Purnima, you were working in a company which is specialized in doing medical equipment. So how is this related with your studies, and how did you decide from that company to jump to Novartis?
First, I would say that why I decided to jump was because, again, I was getting too comfortable there. I was so much comfortable. I felt it. I'm in my comfort zone. I have to get out of there. So that's why, and I moved for my career. What I think is life is more than just work. And, you have to do more. And I know, but I want to do more in the future. First has to come that I really do something out of my career. And I cannot be comfortable where I was. I was so much comfortable. I loved my job. I mean, I was doing so good. The company was great. The people were super nice, but I knew it. I'm in my comfort zone right now. I felt it. I'm like, no, I have to get out of here.
You look like you have your career path very well defined. What do you want to achieve in the next years?
I want to have more deep knowledge, related to the respiratory diseases, to understand more and more. And I think in 2-3 years, there will be a time when I will have more and more understanding. And really, I can say that more proudly that, I'm a scientist. Even now I say that, but then I will feel it from the heart, because with more of that deep knowledge. And after that, I want to achieve is like giving more or giving back, because I felt I'm really those lucky who have received it. I have perfect life, everything, I've received it. And I think there will be, the time in the future where I will be in that. I already feel it, like, I should start giving back. And I just, right now, I don't know how I'm going to do that. I really don't know. Sometimes I think, should I open a company in India? Should I, open an organization who help poor kids? What should I do? I do think a lot about, how can I give back? I don't know.
Yeah, how to put it. It's kind of like curious to see that I think it's very common in our age that people are focusing on the career, right? And what you want to achieve as individual. But it's not that common to see people like you who are already thinking how to give back.
Yeah, because I think I have this gratitude feeling, I'm so much, every day when I go to work, I'm like, I'm so thankful. I have already everything. Like, and I have to say, I'm not those who want to have everything, fancy, and I like to keep it simple. My focus is not on the things. My focus is really not, and I wasn't like this. So, when I was in India, I was very superficial, materialistic, approach. I changed myself. So, reading a lot about the Japanese books, about their culture, Indian culture. So, I have tried to change myself and become more and more on this side. And I think, and become more kind and more humble. It's just after coming to Germany has just helped me to realize how lucky I was to grow up in India, in the society where I was. Because, yes, the education, it's a developed nation, but how many Germans can afford to go to the different country and live a total different life? I actually got a chance to really feel the different and really live the different culture live with the different people or have a different experience. Actually came here for my career, but when I came here, I learned more about the climate crisis. I'm like, oh, I want to focus on that. I became more eco-friendly. I developed so much. So I don't know how I would have been if I just stayed in India.
Would you like to live somewhere else? So would you like to go to another country?
I mean, I do travel and I do a lot of vacations. So I have seen a lot of different European countries, or even in Asia, I've been around. But when it comes to really settle down, I think of course, I want to go back to India and settle down there, because we do have everything there. And if I am the lucky ones who can have the same life what I have here in India, then of course I will. Right now I'm here because I do want to experience more. I do want to learn more. And I'm young, so right now it's all good. But yeah, sure, I do see in the future.
What aspects from the Indian culture you think that here in Germany we should learn from?
Tolerance, patience. I think it's because of the Indian culture. After living here so long, I feel like, I get stressed on a small thing. I think it comes from it's a part of Indian culture, because, you do see there's a lot of poverty in India. So it's still a developing nation. So there are a lot of poor people. And even with whatever they have, they try to help you. And they are always nice to you. Wow. They will not show how stressful their life is. They're still nice to you. And how, so...
The question the other way around, what India should learn from Germany?
There is a lot, for sure. I mean, not, I would say just the German one, the European way is efficiency. Of course, in India also we have a lot of, it's also very efficient. But there are some, things when I see, I'm like, why don't we have, how the garbage disposal, how we do it in India. But then on the same time, I think because it's a developed nation, they have food on their table, so they can think more than that. So I always contrast. So whenever I say something like this and then I think back and I'm like, it's still a developing nation. The poor person doesn't care where he throw the garbage because he doesn't have a food on the table. Sure. But yes, the middle class and the upper middle class of the India, where we are, we can bring the change. That society, we can learn from the Europe how, the climate crisis and all these things, how we are tackling it here. We can learn from it. Whatever I see here now being called eco-friendly, we have already there in India, using the soap or, using the charcoal, using the curcuma. We all have that in India. I feel like maybe we're just forgetting our own roots. What's happening? Why do we see this, the Western adapting to the, to the other culture, and the India is becoming more and more Western. So what's happening? So there are things to learn, but then I again think half of the Indian population can do that, but not other half of it, because they do live below the poverty line and they have to worry about the food on the table than sorting out the garbage. Sometimes I feel.
You cannot compare.
Exactly.
Right? It's like in different phases. One of the reasons why women in India, although they are studying, then they decide to leave their career apart. It's because of family, because of having children and deciding to support the husband's career. What do you think that should be changed? To transform this and to avoid that women with studies leaving their careers.
Yeah. More awareness. So just example here. My mom was a teacher, so she was teaching English in the school. So, before we were born. But once we were born, I think we were 2 or 3 years old. I remember she left her career as a teaching. So she studied, she did her BA and MA, in English. She was a teacher. Then she left because she wanted to focus on her career. But the generation, what she does, what she did, when I was born and everything, she makes sure that I don't follow that path, So like I said, right in the start, my mom was all the time from the start was like, focus on your career. So the awareness, or the mothers has to remember their example and set an example, or the daughters. And I think the husband, right, that plays the main, afterwards when you're married, is the husband, the support you need. He need to understand that the women career is equally important as the as his.
Purnima, it's fine for you, I would like to go for the final round of questions. Sure. What is your passion?
I think the science, the work. My work is my passion, I would say.
What is success for you?
Just being happy and being proud of myself and having my peace of mind is already successful. So I already say, I'm successful. Even I think 5 years ago, I used to say I'm successful.
We talked already a little bit about goals, but do you have anything in mind that you want to achieve? So apart of giving back, what you were explaining, anything else that you want to achieve in mid or long term?
I think giving back is the main one. And I think while I will doing that, will achieve my other goals. Like I said, right, when I move back to India, I do want to have my own pharmaceutical company, or, do want to design my own products. I have so many dreams on that side, because then I will create more employment and I will support the poor, the poverty of the India. So I do have the plans, but I don't have figured out the whole, how will I manage to do that?
So I'm sure you will come up with a way to give back and follow your passion. I'm sure about that, Purnima. Could you share a name of a woman who inspires you or who inspired you in the past?
Any woman who has a dream, I would say. Who's like passionate like me. I'm like always a fan of it. I have met recently at my work one of that kind of women, I had a lot of women who have inspired me.
What advice would you give to yourself as a child?
I think I would say myself, learn more about Indian culture, because I think I have become so international. I don't know. I feel that more and more now. That, I'm not saying I forgot my roots, but I think I forgot to appreciate what I come from, I come from very history, the Indian, there's so much about India. Yeah. I have become so westernized in that way. When I was a kid, I had my own, the comfort zone and my pink bubble, and I was just a bookworm. So I will tell my younger myself to also, learn more about the Indian culture.
So thanks a lot, Purnima. It was a pleasure, and congrats for your career, for your family.
Same here. It was very nice. It was nice meeting you also.
Thank you. So good to see that things are changing and that we have women like Purnima that are already in the driver's seat. Thanks a lot for listening to the podcast, and see you next week with Mar, another superwoman who inspires a lot and won the prize Donatic last year. See you next week. Ciao!